Hey guys, it's Dr. Lisa Wilcox here, and I have been a physical therapist for over 18 years. I cannot believe that. It has been an awesome journey, and I have specialized in manual therapy for the entire 18 years. So, manual therapy means that I use these guys to do all of my work. And so, I used to do a lot of exercise and things like that, but I started to realize, hey, you know what? I'm really good at doing manual therapy, feeling things with my hands, and oftentimes people have said that I can feel things that other people can't feel, and it's just always kind of been a thing that I have done. When I was probably about 7 or 8, and my grandpa was sitting at the kitchen table, and I walked behind him, and I just put my hands on his shoulders, and I started to give him a little shoulder rub. And then all of a sudden, I started to feel these knots in there. And so I would feel these knots and give them a little rub. And he was like, Lisa, how in the world can you feel those knots? And I was like, I don't know. I just feel them. And he just couldn't believe it. And I don't know, I didn't think anything of it. And then fast forward to when I was 22, 23, and I was in PT school and finishing up PT school, and I was doing a lot more manual therapy in my internships. And I just realized that I can feel things that probably a lot of PTs and other people, massage therapists, chiropractors, other people in my field can feel. But maybe that's why we're drawn to it, because we just have those gifts maybe. So I'm a manual therapist, and that's what I've done for my entire career. But about 8 years ago, I knew I was working on people. I was doing dry needling, I was doing deep tissue massage, I was doing trigger point release, I was doing scraping with tools, I was doing anything I could think of. And people would get better and they would love it, and they would say, hey, I feel so much better, when they left the clinic. And then the next week they would come back for their appointment and it would all be back. And I was just really puzzled, and I knew I was missing something. I was feeling something underneath my hands that I just couldn't explain, but I knew that there was something that I was not affecting with any of the treatment tools or things I was doing with my hands at that point. And so one day, out of the blue, it was super crazy because I had started a contracting business, and so I was in a random clinic. I didn't even have my own desk. And I looked at my desk at lunch, and there was a brochure that the front desk people had just thrown the mail, and there was a brochure on the top of the pile of mail, and it was something that I had never seen before. Out of all the brochures that we get as PTs for continuing education, I had never seen it before. And it was a brochure for John F. Barnes' myofascial release. Now, in the past, I was like a super black and white, like protocol based kind of therapist, and I did very much evidence based practice and things like that. But again, I knew something was missing despite all of the education that I had done with that. And so I thought, you know what? I'm just going to give this a try. So I signed up for my first class. I traveled to Bellevue, Washington, and the first day was amazing. It was totally up my alley, hands-on, manual therapy. It made a ton of sense. Second day, I was like, what is going on? Because things started happening to people that were in the class as we were treating them that I had never seen before. Turns out it's called unwinding, and it can take any form. There's no way of predicting it, and it's the body's way of releasing energy and getting back into places of trauma so that it can process things. And I know that that might sound pretty woo-woo to people, but I will tell you, every single one of my patients that I have ever worked on, even if they were a little skeptical at first, when I put my hands on them and I start doing these techniques, they are immediately drawn in, and they no longer think it's woo-woo, because they are feeling what is going on inside their bodies. They're feeling the deep relaxation. They're feeling the release of things that no other treatments have ever provided for them. And so I've been very blessed because at this point in my career, I fully specialize in myofascial release, which is the technique that I learned, because I started adding it in with my dry needling and all of my other techniques, and it just reigned superior. Even joint mobilization, I used to do a lot of joint mobilization, but I learned that if I released the fascial tissue around the areas where the joints weren't moving well, all of a sudden the joints were able to start moving on their own, and I didn't have to do forceful manipulations and mobilizations. So at this point in my career, I am now fully a myofascial release therapist, and it is incredible. I get to work with people. Most of my clientele have some form of chronic pain that they have usually tried almost everything else for. Normal physical therapy, chiropractic, acupuncture, massage, many different kinds of things, dry needling, cupping, all of those things. And the thing that I have found is that the best part of myofascial release is that it actually leads me as the practitioner. It leads my hands, it leads my intuition and my awareness. And it's completely individualized to that person's body because their body is leading me and my hands the entire time. And I am never forcing anything. It is incredible because, number one, you will never go to the spot that you think that you're going to go to. It is almost always the opposite side of the symptoms, or it could be that someone came in for headaches and migraines and I'm down working on their foot and they go, oh my gosh, I can feel that relaxing in my head and neck. So you never know. The fascial system is one continuous system throughout our entire body. It's connected head to toe through all of our blood vessels, nerves, organs, muscles, bones, any kind of tissues the fascial system is involved in. And so we can never know in any particular person where their body is holding onto things. Now, there's definitely some places that tend to be more common in every body, and there's fascial lines and things like that that tend to be pretty similar in a lot of people. But then once you start working on those things that are more common with people, if you let the person's body, you'll realize that their body will lead you to where they need it. And it's very specific to what their body has gone through. And it can be along their entire lifetime. So a lot of people think, oh, no, I don't know, nothing's happened to me recently. I don't know why I have this pain. And a lot of times as we're working, all of a sudden they might have a memory or they might have some little thought come into their head and they'll go, I was just thinking about when I was in a car accident 20 years ago, but that was 20 years ago. There's no way that can have anything to do with this. And it's amazing. All of the things over our entire lifetime have been affecting our bodies. And if it was possibly traumatic for us, or if it was injurious to any of our tissues, the fascial system can become less fluid, it can become dehydrated, and that's when it starts to give people symptoms. And it can be literally anywhere in the body. You can have, say, your injury was over here. So if I pull on my shirt and give it a little twist, you can see where the restrictions might possibly be affecting all these different places it could be pulling into, all the way down here. So that's just a very simple example of what a fascial restriction can cause and what it can affect. But yeah, so I just love what I do. I just absolutely love it because every single day is completely different, and we're making just big, huge changes in people's lives because they've for so long usually been treated for their symptoms. So say they have shoulder pain, they're getting treated in their shoulder, they're getting treated maybe into their chest, maybe into their neck, maybe into their back. But for the most part, it's going to be in that general area as far as normal medical treatment goes. But it's really incredible when you start working with the fascial system because it could be anywhere. So oftentimes, how I start on my visits is I assess people's postures. And so if they come in for shoulder pain, I will definitely keep that in my mind. But I'm looking at everything because, believe it or not, the pelvis, so where your hips are connected to and your low back connects into, that if any part of the pelvis is out of alignment or if there are restrictions causing it to be torqued or anything like that, it can really affect just about anywhere in the body, because I really feel like the sacroiliac joint, which is where the pelvic bones come together, that is kind of like the keystone for the whole body. It's where our energy transfers, especially when we're walking from our lower body into our upper body. There's rotation around that area as we're walking. That is when we're sitting. That's our base when we're sitting. And so if that's off and we're slightly askew, it's going to affect the entire body. So that is just a little piece of why I'm so passionate about myofascial release and the fascial system. And in the future videos, the reason I have this ball, you might be wondering why I have this ball in my hand, is in future videos, I'm going to talk about different kinds of releases that you can actually do at home. So myofascial release with an actual person is, I mean, obviously it's going to be the best because that person can have their hands on you and they can feel things that you'll never be able to feel. And like I experienced that myself. I have to see myofascial release practitioners to treat me because there's no way that I can get into a relaxed position and feel the things that I need to feel and like have my body lead me the way that it can happen with someone else. The other thing is the warmth and the electricity of a practitioner's hands. That is a lot of, I mean, we could go way deeper into this, but there's something called the piezoelectric effect. And that is when someone's hands are near your body or on your body. There's actually a transference of that energy from the practitioner's hands into your body. And so that is what allows the fascia to become rehydrated, to soften, to essentially melt and open up and become viscous again if it's become tight and dehydrated. So obviously, best plan is to actually go see a myofascial release therapist, but if not, there are many different tools that you can use at home. And in my next video, I will be talking about the difference between all of the different balls and what you can do with them, because I'm sure that if you have been seeking treatment for anything, you have definitely been told to use some of these things at home, and I am going to let you know my opinion on what is the best for certain things and how you can help yourself at home. So I hope you're having a wonderful day, and thank you for watching my video. If you are interested in myofascial release and how you can help your body on your own, or finding a myofascial release practitioner, please like and subscribe down below. And as you watch my videos, you will find more and more. I am going to be giving you education and links to so many different things. So I will be showing you a lot more of the myofascial release principles for at home, but I will be giving you links to amazing videos that some incredible physical therapists and other practitioners have put on YouTube so that you can get a really nicely well-rounded home program to do either in between your sessions with other therapists, or if you are not able to access therapy at this point, like in person, you can utilize a lot of these videos. And I hope that I can take you through just some amazing content that people have put out there and give you a nice, well-rounded program to help your body be the best that it can be. So, like I said, follow, subscribe, like my videos, and hopefully I will be able to give you awesome new content that is something different from what's out there already. Bye.